Yeah, I think we don't want to let the people down in the morning.
Yeah, I can't let the people down, Jordan. That's what it is. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show presented by PrizePicks. I'm Eric Lindquist. Hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell as we get in here. The like button. I know a lot of you guys who are probably watching us here at 7 a.m. West Coast time, 10 p.m. 10 a.m. Eastern time. Can you tell? Oh, just getting the coffee going, my friend. But I'm excited. This is a special version of the NBA Strategy Show because I got my boy, my absolute guy, Terry McBride, T McB. He's Digital B21 over on the Twitters. He's active there once in a while. He always pops up from time to time. Every now and then. How you doing, my dude?
I'm doing pretty well, buddy. Yeah, every now and again I hop on Twitter and I answer some like months old customer service question, even though I don't do customer service anymore. But that tends to be what my Twitter account gets used for these days. So if you follow me, hey, I'm sorry to disappoint, but good to be here with you, pal. I was just saying to you, behind the scenes here, I was watching you on the show yesterday. I was like, it's been a minute since like baseball season, I think almost since you and I did a show together. And lo and behold, here we are.
Well, we do a lot of baseball. That's always fun to do.
Absolutely.
And kind of wild. I kind of went through a phase. I had like a weird dream. During the holiday season, when you go out and have a couple of late night cocktails at the little parties and doing the things, indeed. You get some of those little weird dreams and whatever else. I had a dream that the Minnesota Twins were in the World Series. And that's the only reason that I knew I was in the middle of a dream. So I was conscious that I was having it, but I can't believe how much baseball news has started to take over December at times with some of the winter meetings. Obviously, you got your guy Aaron Judge re-signed, the Twins. I mean, what's our biggest move? Christian Vasquez at catcher, probably. I don't know. Maybe we'll get some pitching for once in our lives, but Aaron Judge
didn't bring back this injured, terrible, nobody can sign him piece of garbage shortstop Carlos Correa. You're not going to have him to worry about anymore on the Twins. So.
I will take him with a severed leg. I don't know what's going on with his leg, but I would be okay with bringing him back based on what I saw at the end of last year.
Yeah, especially if they can do it on hey, we'll give you 5 and 90 or whatever the math works out to. I haven't thought about this at all, but especially if they could get him on a discount, that would be a smart move for the Twins.
Yeah, I mean, a 1-year loan. You might want to have Tyler Mahle before you come into the season. That might have been good. Last year, any type of starting pitching would have been ideal for us coming into last year because Correa looked great. We've also just had a lot of bad health around first base. Miguel Sano, man, stop eating cookies. But he's basically our version of Santa on the Minnesota Twins. Just a big guy. We got Jordan Klein behind
him. Chip in Byron Buxton that they could maybe move to. Add a couple pieces and rebuild, though.
Yeah, don't say that. You just want him. That's what this is.
I'll take him.
Yeah. I'll have him play center for the next 1,000 years over Aaron Hicks.
You want Giancarlo for Buxton straight up?
Nope, I'm okay. Guys, let's get into the NBA. As enticing as that sounded, Jordan Klein behind the virtual glass there doing a great job engineering everything this morning. But we got Terry riding sidecar here, excited to talk through this NBA slate. He'll probably give you a lot of FanDuel analysis coming to you on today's slate here. But we get it started with OKC and Charlotte here, 239 total. And OKC, we never really know what's going on with them until later on in the day. You could have SGA just randomly show up, Josh Giddey just randomly show up. But what we do know is they're going to be thin in the front court. Pokusevski going to be out 6 to 8 weeks, did breaking his leg in some capacity. It doesn't sound like 6 to 8 weeks. It's like really bad. That's a plus, but no Jeremiah Robinson Earl still. You're looking at getting some minutes filled by the likes of Mike Muscala. Jalen Williams other Jalen Williams got called back up from the G League. Kind of a weird spot, but it always starts with SGA with this team, right?
Yeah, a lot of times it starts and ends with SGA on this team as well. You can play the price game with a lot of these guys, and it does look like we're going to have some opportunities. Giddey shining through nicely on the FanDuel slate at only 7,000 with his multi-guard eligibility. Over on DK, 21% optimal, but he's a little bit over-owned over there. But on DK, he's 27.3% optimal, on FanDuel, 27.3% optimal, but owned to a 40% share. So that's a negative 13 leverage score on Giddey. So he's going to be extremely popular. here, but he's pushing through a lot of the probability metrics. Darius Bazley looking like he's going to get a lot of opportunity here at only 4,800 on FanDuel, 3,000 on the DK slate is making him look interesting. He's power forward and center eligible for the dead minimum, 53.5% optimal, 44.1% owned, making him one of the better leverage plays overall on the slate. So we've got some major opportunity around him. For me, though, like I'm always looking to just get to SGA and his 1.43 FanDuel points per minute, 1.42 on the DK side of things, and get him into lineups when there's just a lot of opportunity, a lot of things to do, and then worry about the other pieces that, they'll fall as they may. But Bazley on the DK slate at the dead minimum is definitely going to be a major building block for tonight's slate over there. He's very interesting on FanDuel as well. He's 30% optimal over there, so I don't want to short sell him on the FanDuel slate, but he is more of a movable piece at 4,800 and multi-forward eligibility than at the dead minimum power forward and center.
Yeah, we're going to have some pieces of news. I mean, we're going to have Jalen Brunson waiting in the wings. We're going to have a number of these spots. Fred VanVleet there early on. All of these games lock within an hour and a half of each other from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So going to be very, very easy in terms of putting your lineups together. Nothing like we had yesterday, which was a lot of fun. You and I talked about that a little bit before the show in terms of late swap, but I can't imagine anything that would change having interest in Darius Bazley so long as he's starting. He's a 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy, flat 3K, multi-positional eligibility. He's kind of as building block of a piece as you'll ever find. He is basically the entire Lego set. On DK,
absolutely. Spent a lot of time building Legos over the holidays with my niece. And so I'm all about these building block pieces. Oh, it's a blast. She got the little house from the movie Encanto. So it had like the step-by-steps, and we built the whole thing up over a couple hours, and it was done by the end of Christmas, which was great.
Look at you. Look at you being
building blocks.
Uncle of the year. Look at that.
Damn right. Yeah. What I was pissed about was a lot of my gifts didn't get there on time. Thanks a lot, FedEx, Amazon, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, you can blame God because I think weather.
Yeah. But they're supposed to power through neither sleet nor snow nor et cetera, et cetera. Should have just sent it by U.S. mail. They would have gotten it there.
Anywho, we're all about the entire world, and I don't know. I totally get it. There are a couple things that didn't get. Well, actually, we got almost everything on the 24th, which was pretty incredible.
Oh, nice. What was frustrating, honestly, what was the only frustrating part, I totally get like not being able to get you, across the country because of the weather and everything. I didn't want anybody to risk their life so that my niece could get a board game or something like that. What was frustrating was everybody got everything to New Jersey by the 24th, and then everything sat in New Jersey on the 24th through the 28th. That was a little bit annoying. So, if you can get it to New Jersey, you should be able to get it to my parents' house. Anyway, all that is to say that we are very much all about these building block pieces like Darius Bazley on the DK slate. Mm-hmm. He just enables other things to happen. So you don't worry about the popularity. People are going to say, hey, 44%, where can I go? How can I get away from this, et cetera, et cetera. Those aren't the plays we want to look to pivot away from. Those are the plays you just plug into your lineup and build around. He enables you to put together multiple stars. He enables you to do a lot of other things with your lineup. Get different elsewhere. Just play pieces of chalk like this that are extreme value chalk.
We've got, what is that? Eric, in the morning, it's better than coffee. Look at that. See, I love that. That's nice. And then I had Rimrod bring it back.
Promise not to sing though. They might be saying that expecting a song. I don't know.
There's no singing.
A threshold where you will or won't sing.
I do not have a song in my heart at the moment. I'm feeling a little tired here. 7:10 a.m. This is probably as flat as you'll get me, and I'm still going to be energetic because I don't really have a choice. That's how God made me. Rimrob 420. Eric was dead wrong about Drummond yesterday. If you start holding me accountable to like individual single backup center plays that aren't good plays. Oh, and I 4X'd my money and had live sweats in the $4 and $15. So like, I think I'm okay. Like I didn't need Andre Drummond. You know who you needed yesterday? You needed to have any sort of exposure to Bones Highland, of which I had almost 100%. So there you go.
Oh yeah. I loaded it. Like I told you, I planned, I actually managed to get that Denver situation right. I planned for all those guys to be out, built most of my lineups had Bones in them. I had some shares of Drummond. What's funny is in the standings, as I was looking through the top of the standings yesterday, I saw that you had one lineup that was a chaser like real early on. We're talking like 8 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah. And I clicked on it and I'm pretty sure that lineup had Drummond in it. So
I did have a Drummond line. I had a couple. See, look at that. You knew. I played both sites.
And plays. Right.
Yeah. So I had like
plays are good tournament plays.
I think I had like 6 or 8% on FanDuel. I had 0 on DK. I think for me, it was just making sure I had some power forward spots available for Draymond Green, for Domantas Sabonis, for some of those other things. So FanDuel. Also, I kind of hit the jam button on FanDuel because I ran out of time. So sometimes That works out good too. But yeah, no, I had a Drummond lineup. Pat Connaughton, thanks for coming. Have a nice day, you jerk face.
I'll second that. Absolutely. Nothing.
Just on FanDuel, not on DK.
Yeah, nothing from Pat Connaughton. And we're giving him no love back in return.
Nope. Yeah, Josh Giddey, Darius Baisley, SGA. Can't imagine that I get to a whole lot of anything else. Doesn't look like the field will either. But on Charlotte, this is fascinating because PJ Washington here, he's pulling a lot of ownership on the DraftKings slate now. A 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy. The price hasn't really adjusted to a situation where Kelly Oubre is going to be out. We know that he can close in those type of situations, moves into the starting unit, or has been in the starting unit for a while now, but it's just one of those spots where everything about PJ Washington makes sense to get to at 5,300, but it still doesn't feel good. Like there's no feel good clicks in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that sentiment about PJ Washington. I'm actually, 6,100 power forward center on the FanDuel slate, 5,300 power forward only on the DK slate. I think I prefer him for the $5,300 price tag over on DK. It's a little bit cheaper on the relative price tag. 24% optimal only over there versus 25% on the FanDuel slate. He's just a little bit too expensive for me to really like him. Like he's a piece that'll come up a lot. I'll have plenty of them today, but he's negatively leveraged across both sites and he's going to be optimal a quarter of the time. So 3/4 of the time he's not. If I can be on a different piece a little bit more than the field that's coming up a little bit more optimal or around or several pieces that are around the same optimal, that is a spot I might consider pivoting away from because like you said, 0.88 FanDuel points per minute so far this season. Just not a guy who's a massive producer, 33.2 minutes the last time out, 24.3 FanDuel points. Not giving me a ton there. 20.1% usage guy, 51.9% true shooting. A lot of numbers, he's fine, but he's not really smashing through the top of our probability tools. And you can see that reflected in the boom column a lot. Like if you look at his FanDuel boom score, 13.25% probable to go just 5x plus 10 on that FanDuel salary. He looks a little bit better, like I was saying, at 5,300 on DK. You're at least getting a 28% boom score probability out of him. So you're getting a little bit more ceiling for the DK price. So I like him better over there. Don't really love him on FanDuel. The rest of this team, I'll get plenty of LaMelo, particularly on FanDuel. He's coming up 36% optimal. He'll be owned, but that's a dynamic player who can create his own shot, who can call his own number, 1.23 fantasy points per minute guy. I'm happy to get you shares of LaMelo. He'll just fall as like he normally does, though. He doesn't really stand out for me. I'll just get a decent amount of them because I typically would in this situation. DK, he doesn't look quite as good at 9,700, only 19% optimal. Still a usable piece, though, from the semi like star, second tier star, I guess I should call it level. The other pieces, some movable parts around like Gordon Hayward, Mason Plumlee, Terry Rozier, these different guys that are always just basically movable parts from this team. Nobody I really love, nobody I really trust, everybody coming up a little bit negatively leveraged. So it's not a spot I'm really excited to get to.
Yeah, and pay attention to Dennis Smith Jr. too. Like I can't imagine that's going to cut into LaMelo Ball or to Terry Rozier in any way, shape, or form, but maybe a minute or two, maybe, where it just trimming a little bit. It doesn't change the upside. And if LaMelo Ball decides to do what he is capable of doing, he's going to project out nicely on DK, sub 10K, a little bit different kind of construction. Although with a 3K piece that already looks good, that's going to be optimal more than 50% of the time in Baisley in this game, you're probably going to have access to the top tier. And that at point guard is Luka Doncic.
That's at point guard is, yeah.
He's pretty good.
No disagreement here. Did you see what he did to my Knicks the other night? How could I say anything differently?
I can't really tell you that he didn't completely smash their faces in. And Jalen Brunson didn't even play, which is normally as bad of a zero as it gets defensively. One of the worst defenders by just about any metric amongst starters at the point guard position in the NBA this year. So fantastic on the offensive end and somebody that you really want to play in DFS if he plays tonight. But on dunks and threes, 5th percentile defender. Oopsie.
Nice. Didn't matter.
Anything else from this
wish he had been out there.
Oh, yeah, they needed him.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, and they will continue to need him. I think tonight if he doesn't go. DSJ is fine. 5,700 though on the FanDuel slate, 5,000 on the DK slate. He just doesn't have a ton of appeal for me at that rate, even if he gets a handful of minutes, unless he jumped to a point where he was projecting into the 20s. We've got him projected for 18 minutes right now. He's a movable piece, I guess, but I'm not seeing a tremendous amount of value out of him. We do have it projected. It looks like with Kelly Oubre out right now, so that's another piece that could
he's out. They had him listed as doubtful, but yeah.
I wasn't expecting him. That's why I've got it set up. But just want to throw that in the mix. But
I think whenever somebody's doubtful, as long as it was like the day before OKC, you never know because they just don't update their injury information. They have no regard for an injury report. But normally it'll just be later in the day. If anything random pops up, around 1 o'clock my time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, you can kind of know OKC will randomly have something. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But we'll move along to our next one here. We've got Cleveland and Indiana. What is this? 223.5 total. Pretty low by Indiana standards for a team that, plays up in pace because, well, Cleveland pretty good defensively, I would say. There's no doubt about it. I think this is, as it stands right now, the least appealing game on the board. Starting with the Cleveland side, the road side, that's the more appealing spot, actually, with Mobley and Allen both sitting there 6,300 and 6,200. Whenever one of them is out, they became very appealing from a tournament perspective, though. You can get them a little bit lower owned. Donovan Mitchell, there's always the opportunity to get to now that he's sub 9K, but they're just an exponentially healthier team, and that makes it difficult for DFS purposes. Anything that stands out to you, Terry?
So the Cleveland side, these guys are priced pretty appropriately. They kind of just look like who they are, which is fine. Yeah. Like I'm happy to go to any of these guys when they're in that type of a situation. They're all coming up mid-teens-ish kind of optimal, 10 to 15% optimal on both sites. Mid-teens to 20-ish% boom score probability on the DK slate. A little worse than that on the FanDuel side, more hovering around the 10% boom score probability on the FanDuel side. So maybe a little bit more appropriately priced over there, a little bit slight discounts on the DK side of things, but happy to get to any of them, and they're positively leveraged for the most part. So you can get to any of these pieces who are all around, one fantasy point per minute or a little bit better, 0.98, 0.97 for Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, but we'll take that. We'll call that 1 fantasy point per minute. So you can plug in any of these guys with an expectation of minutes and get your money's worth out of them with a little bit of an idea of a ceiling on them. So any single one of them I'm fine with. Any 2 of them I'm fine with. I'm not going to get carried away. I'm not going to look for lineups that are loaded up with Cleveland Cavaliers, but I'm certainly not going to chase any of that 5 guys at the top of Jared Allen, Kevin Love, Evan Mobley, and Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell out of any lineup. So any one of those guys, totally happy to take shares of. The rest of this team not showing any real probabilities. Karis LeVert would be the next guy on the list. 25-minute projection coming up 3% optimal across sites. No real interest unless something changes there.
One of my favorite things about doing content, Terry, is when you put down a play by somebody. Like I don't know, it was giving my honest opinion about Kevin Love last time, saying that I didn't think you needed to play a Kevin Love that was sitting 3,800 or 4K on the slate before on DK. I was like, I don't really find him necessary. He went completely nuts in his first rotation against Brooklyn, and this guy tweeted at me. And he was like, you're an idiot. Kevin Love's going off. He's smashing. He only played 13 minutes, put up less than 20 fantasy points, and a tweet has been deleted. Comes across on the bar. It's my favorite thing in all the land when people go back and delete tweets because of the first rotation. And it happens more than you would think, especially in the NBA. People just love to let you know that Drummond or Kevin Love or somebody smashed in their first rotation. And then they delete the tweet. It's my favorite thing. I just thought I'd share.
I mean, we see that in Discord all the time, people getting excited or, ready to jump out on the ledge over the first rotation. And like, guys, they have to play all 4 quarters of these games, and they have to play all of the games before anything is locked in and before any of it matters. So, I mean, a little bit of perspective, but wow, if you're going to send something to somebody on Twitter like that, at least leave it up. You got to own it. I mean, come on. How can you go back and delete it? It's funny, like own your stupid mistake, own your overreaction. But yeah, last time out, 17.1 FanDuel points in 13.3 minutes for Mr. Love there. Looking for a little bit more out of him tonight. We've got him projected at 20.91, obviously on the median, and a little bit of upside over there, more upside on the DK slate. But out of those 5 guys I named, he would be my least favorite option on both sides.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if I could get 22 minutes from him, I'd pretty much take the shot every single time. You just don't know. So he's a good play relative to what else shows up throughout the day, because no matter what, if you get 22 minutes out of Kevin Love, he's somebody that could go out and put up 35. Like that's just kind of the way that it works. But I imagine we have the opportunity with the guard situation. Fred VanVleet there. If you get a Malachi Flynn or Gary Trent starting, if you get the Knicks again, you get the Quentin Grimes, Miles McBride kind of combination. I mean, there's just a lot of things, a lot of ways that you won't need to take a shot with a 4,100 Kevin Love. But anything else from Cleveland?
No, not really. Like I said, a lot of those pieces just kind of looking like who they are on a night after night basis, priced appropriately. So happy to get to any shares of a couple of them, but not really excited about it.
And a team that looks really unappealing if everybody's going to be in, the Indiana Pacers. But one big question mark hanging in the wings here, Tyrese Halliburton questionable. He's kind of important with his over 50% assist rate, with his ability to create for himself. He's just a damn good basketball player, produces around 1.4 fantasy points per minute. He's just flat out elite. He's 9,200. I would want to play him even against Cleveland, considering that reduced tag. I mean, we've been paying more for Tyrese Halliburton in some of these spots, but I think this team just becomes appealing if you don't have him in. Otherwise, I find it hard to prioritize a single thing on this side. What do you see with the Pacers today?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost a situation where we could say, hey, if they're fully healthy, if Halliburton goes, take what you get of shares of him, take what you get of shares of, the Turners, the Nemhards, the Matherins of the world, I guess. But nobody would look really overly appealing. Everybody basically 10% or worse optimal on FanDuel, well under 10% optimal on DK. No boom score probabilities, so to speak of. Priced up or appropriately across the board. If you get the news that Halliburton is out, then you get a lot of appealing pieces around some of those guys. There's always the potential for the oddball like TJ McConnell lineup, of course, to come in. He's only 4,300 on FanDuel. Looks like he is 3,100 on DK. That's going to get explosively popular on the DK slate. Less so on FanDuel, but there would still be appeal there. You would get obviously a bump for Mather and obviously a bump for Nemhard in that situation. Yeah. So that would be the key domino if you take him out. But it's a knee bruise. He's only missed a couple of games. Seems like a kid who's a gamer who plays through a lot. I kind of am expecting him to go here. So it's almost the kind of situation where I just want to say, hey, check back on the later shows and see if we get that piece of news. If he goes, there's nothing overly appealing, but I would take shares of, limited shares of those guys that I named before.
Yeah, if he doesn't play, Andrew Nemhard will probably be one of my highest owned players on the slate at 4,500. Don't want to talk in absolutes, especially at 7:24 a.m. my time. But Andrew Nemhard, multi-positional eligibility. TJ McConnell has not been getting some of these starts. So a lot of people might quick trigger, try to go to TJ McConnell. He's had 0 starts the entire season. And there have been a number of situations without Tyrese Halliburton. So keep that in mind. If you lose him, though, every domino kind of becomes much more appealing and falls in the direction of being playable. But I will say, even Buddy Hield, 6,100, not something you absolutely need absent of Tyrese Halliburton. Miles Turner would be 6,400. I want to get to a ton of that, even against that difficult front court, difficult matchup. Not a great game environment, but such is life. Anything else from this game for you, Terry?
Yeah, Turner and Buddy would be the two pieces that I'll take some of anyway on FanDuel. They're coming up at 11% optimal over there. They're 7 and 6.5% optimal on the DK slate. So they're okay to take shares of with Halliburton in, but they would see the spike, from just being the regular big pieces of the rotation that would have to carry more weight there. And then you're right on the McConnell thing, not seeing the starts. That's why at 4,300, I'm not as wild about him on the FanDuel slate. I just think at 3,100, even if he doesn't, see a start, just with an expectation of, an increased minutes from the 13.8 that we've got him projected at on DK, I think you would have enough on the bone that you could at least throw him into tournament lineups over there. So that's where I'm seeing McConnell right now. And then, of course, if we got the news that he was stepping into the starting lineup, that would rocket to the top of the board, I think, pretty quickly.
Yep. Unlikely, but definitely if he starts, you are just jamming him. But I think they'll probably keep going with Nemhard,
I would think.
And have him play the point in some of those spots. And God, has he been good in relief, and not just the one Golden State game that we all saw where he single-handedly won a game as a double-digit dog. That was good times, but also good times making money over at BetMGM for completely free and getting 2 months of Stokastic Platinum free. Sounds pretty great. And it's not that difficult to attain. You head to the video description box below. You click on that link. You get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's perk number 1. Perk number 2 is you're going to get a $25 free bet to go with it. And perk number 3, God, I have to look at this picture at freaking 7:26 a.m. Are you kidding me, Jordan Klein? You couldn't have used anybody else. You had to use me.
I was saying in the chat, the Stokastic merchandising guys need to get on making up a bunch of giant foam hands with, say, Stokastic on them, like, the big foam fingers, and then just have a tiny little Eric Lindquist hanging off of all of them.
Well, we're never doing this show together again. That's for sure. Anyway, thank you for your input, though, Terry. Guys, so there you go. $25 free bet, $1,000 risk-free bet, and you're watching a DFS show, so I bet this matters. 2 free months of Stokastic Platinum. It's going to be changed to 1 very, very shortly, so I would take advantage of this offer this second. 2 months completely free over at BetMGM. Signing up. Risk-free bet up to $1,000 and a $25 free bet. What could be better than do you like my sweater? Head to that video description box below. Click on that BetMGM link. Get yourself set up. God, we need a tiny Lindquist. Yeah, I heard what he said. It's not true, but let's go over to our third game on the board today. Stop rotating them, Jordan. Stop it. We're moving on to a new segment.
Oh, that's my favorite new bit where he skips them back and forth. And it looks like you and Emac are like waving to each other, or Emac's going like this. So funny.
Yeah, good real stuff. Funny, Terry.
Our crack production team behind the virtual glass.
Memphis -3 going to Toronto, 229 total here in this one. And another team that has gotten exponentially more healthy, that being the Memphis Grizzlies. You got Ja Morant, though, going up against possibly Malachi Flynn, who the difference between Fred VanVleet being on a floor for a team defensively and then going to Malachi Flynn is the difference between having, I don't know, Jordan Klein on your basketball team and having me on your basketball team. 2 very different things. You want me. I'm just saying, throwing it out there. How we feeling, Terry McBride, about this Memphis team heading up against Toronto?
Usually people have to know like the other side of an analogy for it to work. And I don't
use your imagination, folks. I have
energy. I was feeling a golf team, Eric. I don't know. Oops. How tall are you?
I'm 6'2".
You're 6'2"? All right, you can be on my team. Significantly taller than me.
Yeah, that's sneaky. I didn't know you were shorter. I mean, I would have thought you were like a 6-foot individual, if I had to guess.
Let's just continue that rumor.
That sounds great.
No, I'm like 5'9"-ish, 5'8.5", 5'9", somewhere in there.
Oh, he pulled out the 5'8.5". I know your tricks. I know what you're doing.
All right. So which side of this game are we on, Memphis?
That would be correct.
Yeah, we always want to roster Ja Morant in any situation. He's priced like a star because he is a star. 10-1 on FanDuel, 10,000 flat on the DK slate. Looks perfectly fine. Coming up in the low teens optimal rate-wise. Boom score probabilities are fine. Projected around 50 points in the median. 1.43 FanDuel points per minute guy. Absolutely positively will take Ja in every share I can get him. He's a tough guy to roster with alongside of other stars, though. So it depends on how some of these lineups fall and how some of the other pieces where the value ends up being. Another guy in this team I'm always happy to get to is Jaren Jackson, 7,100 on FanDuel, 65 on DK. Looks somewhat appealing because he's positively leveraged. He's not getting a massive optimal rate, not getting a massive boom score probability. So it means his price is about right at 6,500, right? It doesn't mean he's not usable. It just means he's priced appropriately. You get multi-position on him on DK at power forward and center. He's a 1.4 FanDuel points per minute, 1.3 DK points per minute guy. That compares, that's star caliber production when he's on the court. The question's always just what the minutes are going to be. You know, we've got 27 minutes on the projection today, 25.1 so far for the season in his 17 games, played 26-1 the last time out, put up 29.1 FanDuel points. So I do think there's some meat on the bone for Jaren Jackson. The guy who looks really interesting on the FanDuel slate is Desmond Bane, 6,100 shooting guard, small forward eligible, rocketing up the board, 35.4% optimal, 21.5% boom score probability, a 1.07 FanDuel point per minute performer, 26% usage. He's priced up on DK, 7,000 over on the DK board. That's only got him 6% optimal, 10% boom score probability. Wildly different play from site to site. You get a little positive leverage out of him. So as just a can go out there and put up score X for you kind of a piece on DK, you can use him at positive leverage, lowish ownership, 4.6% owned. On the FanDuel slate, he's 45% owned. He's like a key building block piece over there. Negative 9.6 on the leverage, but he looks like an important play today. Looks like an unavoidable-ish kind of a play on the FanDuel slate. So definitely going to have some Desmond Bane in our lives over there. Everybody else, just moving parts.
Oh, it's Desmond Bane. It'd be very painful. Well, you look like a big guy. For you.
Ew. See, if I had thought to tie that in and throw you
his
the
name's
look like a
Bane?
big guy thing, which is what we were talking about before. That would have been better if I had thought throwing you the line. My bad.
It's okay. I love you anyway. I thought I was born in the darkness. It's dark outside. Jaren Jackson Jr. If you give me Jaren Jackson Jr. at DK under 3%, I'm always going to take that shot in a tournament. We know that he can go out 28 minutes against Phoenix, 46 fantasy points. He is not reliable. He will go out and hack a lot of the time, but once in a while, those turn into blocks. And that, my friends, is what you call a tournament play, sub 3%. Over on FanDuel, what is his tag? Yeah, he's a little bit more popular, 7,100, but the power forward center eligibility, 9 roster spots. Makes sense to me. Just always got to give him a shout out. FanDuel purposes, we know those blocks can take him to the top, but we go to the Toronto side, really difficult to understand what to do with them. If there's going to be Fred VanVleet in there, I don't really want to do anything besides Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby. It looks like over on FanDuel seems to be a pretty decent core building block at 20%, 21%. But if you get Fred VanVleet out, this entire team has an opportunity to move up to the top of the board for me. You could get Malachi Flynn, Gary Trent, possibly if they decide to go point Pascal Siakam. A lot of ways that this could work out against Memphis. And boy, would I like them a whole lot more. But assuming VanVleet's in right now, who stands out to you on the FanDuel board?
On the FanDuel side of things, if VanVleet is in, which is the way we've got it projected now, 36.5 minutes, he and Siakam look kind of like who they are. Scotty Barnes looks, nobody stands out from that group. The guy who's getting a little bit of attention in our probability columns is OG Anunoby, 16% optimal, but he's 21% owned already, -4 leverage. I don't love that situation. It's a similar on DK, 16% optimal, 20% owned, negative leverage. He's fine on both sides. You get multi-position out of him on both sides, small forward, shooting guard. I just don't love him. He's a 0.96 fantasy point per minute guy, needs to get the full complement of minutes and needs to have that, that game where he finds some extra steals. He does some weird stuff. Some of his additional shots go down on a guy who's only pulling a 21.1% usage rate in most situations, 8.5% on the assist share, 8% on the rebounding. It's just a guy who finds his points a lot of the time through happenstance. And I don't love chasing that. 24.5 FanDuel points in 43.6 minutes the last time out, as if to illustrate my point. So he's not a piece that I love getting to when he's negatively leveraged. I'll have some. I won't chase him out of my lineups, but he's not the most exciting play in the world to me. So nothing changes as far as VanVleet. That's really the breakdown on both sites. Everybody else, you can take Siakam share, sure. You can take VanVleet share, sure. Scotty Barnes, nobody, offensively priced out of that group by any means. They all look okay, but nobody so appealing with the situation, the normal situation. So I'd rather have the situation, I think, where VanVleet is out and maybe create some value around some of the Gary Trents, the Malachi Flynns of the world.
Yeah. Just to reiterate about the defensive prowess, because again, it's positionless basketball, but in the pick and roll, you can switch anybody onto anybody. Malachi Flynn is so bad defensively. We're talking -3 EPM, 0 win shares, 28th in those regards, but -2.6 estimated plus minus. That is second percentile defense. Ooh. Fred VanVleet, 81st percentile.
So you're saying you'd rather have Jalen Brunson. You need one stop to win the championship.
I would, which is disturbing.
Point guard clears everybody out. Wants to take the ISO. You'd rather have Jalen Brunson than Malachi.
Think of how strange that is. Like Dallas, I mean, they played way down in pace for a lot of reasons. I mean, part of that is you have the best half-court basketball player I've probably ever seen. Him and Jokic won too. In some perspective, those two guys are bananas. They're just unicorns. They're insane. But feel pretty good about having Fred VanVleet on the floor as opposed to Malachi Flynn, as opposed to Jalen Brunson defensively. But yeah, I would take Jalen Brunson over Malachi Flynn. It's that extreme.
Yeah, that's going to be ugly. Definitely going to create some situations where there's going to be some offense coming from the other side, and maybe elevates the total of this one, and you see a little bit of a run and gun kind of a shootout in this one if you get that situation. So I do think, at 4,900, if you got a big starting opportunity for Malachi, he'd be a little bit appealing on the FanDuel slate. At 3,900 on DK, he would definitely have some appeal. Point guard, shooting guard eligible over there. So just watch the news on that one. And then, like you were saying, Gary Trent, 0.82 FanDuel points per minute guy, not the most exciting player in the world, but would certainly see a bit of an uptick in viability. He is 6,400 4,400 on the FanDuel slate, though, as opposed to 4,900 on DK. So again, another guy just price wise, I'd rather play on the DK slate, I think, than the FanDuel slate, regardless of the situation.
All right, we go from one movie reference to another. My Precious Achiuwa sitting there. He is questionable. If he ends up playing, people are talking about Chris Boucher, Thaddeus Young. They are only in play if Precious Achiuwa and Fred VanVleet are out, where they just need other bodies and they could randomly walk into 18, 20 minutes if they play well. If you get Precious, if he ends up being in, there's just no reason to take that shot.
Yeah, I don't really see any real reason. Nothing's coming through in our various probability metrics here. There's just nothing, not a lot of meat on the bone there, much like Gollum.
Not a lot of meat on the bone, a lot of places, but at PrizePicks, my friends, there is a lot. And we're talking not just NBA props, but college football with the bowl season, with the bowl championship series coming to a conclusion when we have the semifinals coming up on Saturday. Going to be awesome stuff, and they have a bunch of props posted already for that. Check out Matt Gajeski. Head to the Premium Insider if you go to stokastic.com/Lindy or stokastic.com/Gajeski. Get yourself into that premium Discord so you guys can have some bets that you can tail for Saturday. Very much looking forward to it. I won't be posting any, but I will be tailing everything that Gajeski and Ben Rasa put into the atmosphere about Saturday. NHL, NFL, per usual, we've got some NFL going for tonight. Going to be a wild football game in terms of the complexion of it. If you don't have Pollard, if we know we're not going to have Derrick Henry, a lot of props that are going to be very, very active there over on PrizePicks. And this is probably the easiest place to go sign up this second using promo code Stokastic. Get yourself $100 first match deposit bonus, getting into the game, and being able to play across multiple sports. Super easy to think about as opposed to a traditional sports book. You're putting 2, 3, 4, 5, or now 6 player lineups together. You can win up to 25x your money. That is good times, but a lot of plays that are going to develop throughout the day. If you want to get some of those, head to my premium Discord. I'll definitely be posting some of those for the PrizePicks boards, but I tell you, this is just as good as it gets. I know that we have another sponsor, obviously No House Advantage, that you guys can take advantage at whatever you guys want in terms of the props cards. But this is going to just be super simple for you. If you don't have legalized sports betting in your state, I guarantee you probably have PrizePicks available to you. I understand that was an oxymoron, what I just said, but you know what I'm getting at. Get yourself over to No House Advantage. Take advantage of our projections, cross-reference those with the fantasy scores, which have been posted exponentially lower over the course of the last couple of weeks. So get yourself some money for free. Promo code Stokastic. Sign up in the link in the video description box below. And thank you to them for their sponsorship of our little show here on the Stokastic YouTube channel.
I've just been endlessly entertained by watching Jordan Klein's reactions to whatever's going on. I don't know if he's reacting to you or if he's reacting to
something. Oh no, he bodied Adam. He bodied Adam before 8 a.m.
Yeah, that just in case the audience is wondering, each of those sites definitely has a little line in their reads that say, mention our closest competitor in your read, please. That's what they love.
I think if you think about it this way, I mean, well, we'll talk about that off camera. We're tied to a little bit more of one site than the other.
Check out all of our great sponsors out there. They all deserve your love. They're all great sites. But our show today is brought to you by PrizePicks.
What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do with
Kaufman the rest of this show and just sit?
We have 15 minutes to cover 3 games because we do have to get off at 7:55 p.m. or a.m. 7:58. Okay, just want to make sure because we got NFL coming up.
You often miss plans with friends or have people showing up to shit, and then like you're there 12 hours later because you screwed up the AM PM. Does it happen in real life too, or just on shows?
Just on shows when I'm very tired. Okay.
Poor Jordan standing outside a sushi restaurant at 7 a.m.
This is lovely. I'm so glad to have Terry back in my life, keeping me accountable and making fun of me nonstop. Just another person at Stokastic that makes fun of me incessantly. Clippers plus 6.5. Clippers plus 6.5. Boston 227.5 total in this one. The Clippers side, I bet the Clippers. I think that they're going to win this game outright against Boston. Now, okay, I say that knowing that I'm getting plus 205. I'm getting better than 2-1 on a healthy PG-13 and Kawhi Leonard that we haven't seen all that much this season. I think this game is a little bit more competitive if you want to make that a spread, such as life. But I'd rather get rewarded for the big game from Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. We've only had 4 games where they've really been completely healthy here. I feel pretty good about this version of Kawhi Leonard getting back into the mix. And sounds fun to me. But is it fun from a DFS perspective, Terry?
I think it'll be a fun game to watch in real life for sure. I do think that's a viable bet when you're getting 2x your money on that. So yeah, I'm with you on that. It'll at least be competitive. I think we could see a little bit of DFS fun out of a guy like Kawhi Leonard. He's 8,200 multi-forward eligible on FanDuel, 7,800 multi-forward eligible on DK. So the pricing is about right. Maybe still arguably a little bit cheap for this version of Kawhi. 1.11 on the FanDuel scoring, 1.13 on the DK scoring. So a nicely above 1 fantasy point per minute player here now. 40.4 FanDuel points in 34.6 minutes the last time out. We've got him projected at 32.5. I think we could see a little bit out of Kawhi. I think it's, if you want to go narrative style, I definitely could see it being a game where he and Paul George, get up for the game and, want to beat this team and want to come out and have a big showing. Tough matchup, definitely. So it could be a situation where he just goes out and has around that median that we've got him projected for, around a 40-point fantasy performance. At that price, that's not going to tank a lineup for you. So I think you get enough out of that. And then if you get the upside performance out of them, you're getting that upside at a decent price and not a crazy amount of ownership, below 10% ownership on both sites. Same could be said about Paul George, although he's coming out less optimal. He's more appropriately priced across both sites, 91 on FanDuel, 84 on DK. So you're just seeing it a little bit less in the percentages, but same story with Paul George. I think either one of those guys, and then some movable parts the rest of the way with this team, the John Walls, the Zubac's, the Marcus Morrises of the world. All fine, all movable pieces. Nobody I'm really going out of my way for, though.
Yeah, on DK, I'll take shots on George and Leonard because of that upside, because I think Kawhi Leonard, it's just somebody that's eventually going to play 38 minutes. Well, he played 34 and 35 minutes the last two. And how much more are you looking for? There. Eventually, he's going to have that I'm that dude game, and you're going to need him in your life. Paul George, 8,400 to account for playing alongside Kawhi Leonard. I think that makes him interesting when they're both sub 10%. But Ivica Zubac has to be talked about for a quick second here. His price has been yo-yoed all over the place. I can play 2 centers on DK. Even on FanDuel, I mean, you have enough guys who have power forward eligibility that you can kind of play 3 centers in some kind of a way. But Ivica Zubac can get it done quickly on the boards. And you're going to get true centers like Horford, Robert Williams out there. I don't think this is a game that they necessarily go small and go to small ball 5s. Try to go Batum out on the wings. I can't imagine that's something you want to do when you have Robert Williams and Al Horford on the interior here. And the guy has played massive, as Jesse would say on Twitter, giga minutes coming there from Ivica Zubac, 41 and 34, 41, 31, all alongside Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. He is the guy. You're going to give me him less than 5% on this slate on just a 6-gamer. I'm going to take that every single time.
I can get behind that on the DK side of things at 5,200.
Yeah, FanDuel harder you're getting one center to rule them all, one center to find them.
Exactly. Even with the power forwards, and like you said, there have been a lot of guys labeled power forward and center this year, so you can move some parts around over there. Even with that, he's only coming up right now 1.7% optimal. It's a little bit deeper on the DK board, 2.8%. He's technically negatively leveraged because he's 4% owned, but who cares, right? At that point, we're not worried about a negative leverage score on a guy who's 4% owned. You can easily just go double the field at 10%, not risk many of your lineups. You're talking about 15 lineups for 5,200. I do think there's enough there. Low boom score probability. You need that upside performance. You need in 31 minutes the last time out, he put up a 44.7 in FanDuel scoring. You need that kind of a game from him. And it is a tall order to go out there and do that against this front court. But I certainly think he's got the talent and he's got the upside there. So yeah, with nobody else doing it, fine tournament play anyway.
I see why Jordan likes doing these morning shows. Just, I do see it. I can see it in the chat. There's a liveliness. There's a certain palpability to his excitement level, and it's translating. Adam is a good house elf. Adam is that
almost got the
Adam
spit
is
take
friends with Harry Potter.
Chat, Jordan is red face and covering his mouth to keep from coffee spitting out between his fingers all over the camera. The camera's actually got
Adam is a
now.
free elf.
That's
Adam
not a bad
was
job.
given free by Harry Potter. And the FanDuel side,
we're hitting all
on the
Big
Boston
Ten
side,
of IP
you have
today.
Robert Williams here. And I think that coming off of Christmas Day, where he only played 14 minutes, I didn't know what to expect. Wish I had taken some shots against Houston there. He's one of those guys I talked about. Power forward / center eligibility, 5,200 over there. And we know the stocks are going to be how he kind of gets there. A 1.25 draft, FanDuel point per minute guy so far this season in a very, very limited sample. But we've seen he can get it done from a fantasy perspective the last couple of years. Kind of wild to see him at the top of the board there on FanDuel, getting the most ownership from this team. Do you think that's warranted?
Considering that we've got him another 8 percentage points beyond that in terms of his optimal rate and currently 7.3 on the leverage score, yeah, I think it probably is warranted. Maybe arguably a little bit more love could be warranted over there. Like you said, 5,200, nice price for a player who's giving you 1.24 fantasy points per minute in his admittedly small 5-game sample so far this season. 18.4 minutes a game. Last time out, he played 20.8. We've got him projected up to 23 today. So building up a little bit of a minutes run. That 20.8 minute performance last time out, 35 fantasy points on FanDuel. So happy to get to him at 5,200 on the FanDuel slate. And then he's on the DK slate, 4,300, center only over there. But with the util spot, we don't care. And that's a great price for a guy who's even on DK without the, the stocks and everything, 1.20 points per minute on DK. That's not, anything to sneeze at there. At 4,300, he's coming up 18.7% optimal and only 12% owned over there. So I think that's definitely a good opportunity for him there too. I like Robert Williams across both sites here. And there's some other good movable parts on the Celtics side of things. The Marcus Smarts, the Jaylen Browns, obviously Jason Tatum, you can get to on any slate. He's Tatum, in terms of the probability marks, you get a nice shot at his median score around 50 fantasy points. And then there's obviously upside for that. His probability marks at 11K on FanDuel, it's cut down dramatically, 5.4% optimal. He's 12% optimal because he's only 10.3K on DK, small forward and power forward eligible. So he's a little bit more appealing on the DK slate, but definitely there's upside to him in just a raw scoring sense and a ceiling score sense on the FanDuel slate, even at small probabilities.
Just to kind of recap everything there from the Boston side, favorite play?
Robert Williams across both sides. Gotta be.
I think it is too. You're going to have, we'll see. We don't have like the spend up you have to have at center today. Yesterday, you could have played Giannis there. You had Jokic, obviously. Pascal Siakam is as good as it gets if you're not going to have Fred VanVleet out there, but power forward eligibility as well there. I think Robert Williams, Zubats, both from this game, center plays I want to take shots on tournaments for DK. On FanDuel, he's popular, but I think it's warranted. If we start seeing more than 20 minutes a night from him routinely, he's just going to be a good piece. Anything else from this game for you, Terry?
Yeah, just to round that point off real quick, I just sorted for all of the center eligible players on the FanDuel slate. And the next highest ranked guy is PJ Washington in terms of our probabilities at 25.7% optimal. As we talked about, he's dramatically over owned and not the most productive guy in the world, 0.88 fantasy points per minute. But both him and Time Lord are power forward and center eligible. So you could technically play both of those guys together at power forward and still get to a third center play on the FanDuel slate. Out of these center only guys, you're talking about Mason Plumlee, Steven Adams, Alperen Şengün, Mark Williams, Mitch Robinson, none of whom are really must-play type of guys. Any one of those guys could give you a ceiling score, could obviously smash through and produce a huge game for you, but you don't have that, like you said, Jokic type sacrifice, Embiid type sacrifice at the center spot. So you can move the centerpieces around on the FanDuel slate. I do think that gives him appeal and doesn't really limit the ability to use plays like him today on FanDuel. And it's similar on DK. You get more of that on DK anyway with the util spot.
Such a beautiful place to be with friends. Adam's happy to be with his friend, Jordan Klein. 2 more games to go. Hit that like button. If you don't like Dobby and Gollum at 7:50 a.m., I wouldn't blame you. But I mean, I think it's more fun than average. Yeah. Hit that like button then.
Or at least you get your IP 10 polls in, you get your fantasy references, your Tolkien. I actually started rereading The Lord of the Rings for the first time in like 20 years.
I'm so jealous. I wish I had the time. I need the time to be able to just sit back, go on vacation.
Such a good read.
And read those again. I remember that being like, I liked Lord of the Rings before I liked any Harry Potter anything, which I don't think necessarily worked out that way because I don't know. I understood half the words when I was like 10, 11, trying to read through Tolkien, but it got better over time.
You understand more words now.
Yeah. But wouldn't it be just insane if...
It's amazing how closely those movies really hewed to what's in the book. Like just what's on the page is said aloud in the movies, like throughout the entire experience. You can just see it. Like it's almost impossible to read it and not see what's his face as Sam and Ian McKellen as Gandalf and all of that. Now it's that's the cast now in my head.
When Eric accesses the voice in his head's no bueno for anyone, then why is everybody laughing? Why am I getting the laughing crying emojis? Why am I getting all the things? I don't know. Think about what you said. Are you not
entertained, people? Come on.
Are you not entertained? My name is Marcus Aurelius, husband to a murdered son.
There it is.
Father to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. 2 more games to go. But yeah, let's get those likes up for 2 guys who are never on the strategy show, doing the strategy show together. At last, it feels nice. But we have our resident Knicks fan.
For the first time, for the last time.
So good. Our resident Knicks fan, resident also a movie buff over there, Terry McBride.
No, we're gonna talk about this team.
Oh yeah, here you go. This is the most important piece on the slate, I think. We've got the Knicks -5 going up against San Antonio, 226.5 total. And it begins and it ends with the fact that RJ Barrett is out and Jalen Brunson is questionable. If you lose, 80 minutes out of the rotation between Barrett and Brunson, everybody's in play. Like it is going to be a shit show if Jalen Brunson sits. If Jalen Brunson is in, I still like Emmanuel Quickly. I assume that we have right now him. Yeah, there you go. 56% over on DK. And that is assuming that you have Jalen Brunson playing, who would also become the best tournament play on the slate, 7,400 against this measly Spurs team. Oh boy. And we'll talk about the Spurs side too, because that could get even more wild. This entire game, Terry, what do we do with it?
The way I'm feeling about it right now, I'm keeping my fingers crossed and hoping that Jalen Brunson's just out there and I don't have to deal with some of these moving parts. I anticipated this one going no Brunson the last time. I got to tons of McBride, tons of Quickly, a few smattering shares of Derrick Rose. Even I was mentioning it in the chat and people were saying Derrick Rose, but Derrick Rose had been getting, when Quentin Grimes was out, Derrick Rose was getting the 9th man minutes. And then I was figuring, hey, if Jalen Brunson, the primary point guard, was out, he would see a couple additional minutes. There's always the tickle in my back of my mind too. Even going way back, Jalen Rose is Tibbs, Derrick Rose.
Found it.
Yeah. Jalen Brunson, Derrick Rose, Jalen Rose. It gets a little bit confusing.
Found it.
Jalen Rose was a Nick too. Derrick Rose was Tibbs's guy too. So like if he needs, if the kids aren't coming through, I can see Derrick Rose getting up to like a 20-minute performance. It's not where we're projecting him. I'm talking about a few just random tournament plays. Maybe you throw him into the mix in that situation with no Brunson. I am hoping Brunson plays. I feel like Brunson's going to give it a go. The last game was the first one he missed despite being banged up a number of different times through the season. That could be an indicator that, hey, this injury is a little bit more problematic than the previous ones have been, or it could be an indicator that it's just, hey, take the night off, kid, come on back for the next one. I'm hoping it's that. I kind of feel like it's that. He looks good if he's out there, 36% optimal on FanDuel, 29% optimal on DK. The ownership will definitely go up on news. Ownership will probably come down on Quickly on news. Quickly will look good either way. 6,000 on the FanDuel slate, 5,000 on the DK slate, multi-guard eligible on both sites. You would hope that the ownership comes down. The optimal rate will stay high. Guy that I'm really interested in is Quentin Grimes. 6,200 shooting guard small forward on FanDuel, 5,600 shooting guard small forward on DK. Not really coming through in terms of our optimal rates, our probability marks. But what I liked about it was just he absolutely took over the game the other day. He was driving to the hoop aggressively. He was really looking to get buckets the other day and put up a nice performance. 48.3 minutes, 43.2 FanDuel points. For the money, I'll take that from a Quentin Grimes at lowish ownership here. I think that's a spot I can go back to again. Mitch Robinson will look like Mitch Robinson on both sides. Yeah. He's fine. Julius Randle obviously is going to have plenty to do across both sites, but I do think Quentin Grimes is maybe not getting the attention he deserves. He's just priced up a little bit. Like he's not the extreme discount of some of these other guys, but the way Tibbs handles these minutes and the way that he was looking to be aggressive the other day, I want to be involved in that situation if we get the Brunson out spot again. And then Miles McBride didn't really come through, played 46.1 minutes the other day, had a huge opportunity, put up 22.7 in the FanDuel column. He was just missing every shot that he took. He was like 1 for 8 in the first half from 3. Like he had a clunker of a game. I think given the same opportunity, that kid could come out and put up 40-ish FanDuel points or more today. So I don't want to sleep on the Miles McBride spot. 4,500 point guard only on FanDuel, 3,200 on DK. That's getting really interesting. 21.7% optimal and under owned. So definitely a lot of moving parts for the Knicks. Evan Fournier and Cam Reddish are drawing 1.6 minutes each in our projections as it stands right now. Even if we take Jalen Brunson off the board, I do not expect either of those guys to play. You could get that random game where between the two, I would expect it to be Reddish over Fournier, but I don't want to get involved with either one of those guys. I just don't think they're going to be out there. They're low probability performers, even if they are, and they're just in Tibbs' doghouse. They have not played. They are not going to play. So I don't think they see the court. We saw it with just 8 guys. Tibbs just smashed everybody. 50.6 minutes last time out for Quickly, 44.8 for Randall, 46.1 for McBride, and so on. Tibbs is a madman. He's just going to run these guys into the ground. So I don't see the minutes for those guys.
Yeah, opening night still so tilting. The Cam Reddish thing ended up in the winning lineup. Still so dumb. But we move over to the San Antonio side.
He was just drawing those minutes because Grimes was out. Grimes is another one that's Tibbs just loves that kid.
You should like Grimes. I like Grimes.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
From a real basketball perspective.
Yeah. And Tibbs likes him better than Quickly. So in those situations where it's Quickly or Grimes, which one? I've been going in Grimes's direction. The pricing's evening out on that now. So it's not quite the most of the appealing spot that it was, but that's kind of just been the way I've been leaning in that heads up.
Impossible to break down the Spurs. Keldon Johnson, questionable. Devin Vassell, questionable. The whole team looks good if they're out. The whole team looks bad if they're in. I don't know another way to say it.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Maybe a little bit more appealing if they're in on the FanDuel slate. They're in the mid-teens in terms of the optimal rates.
Oh, yeah.
The ownership will obviously come up. Say again?
I would play those two if they were in. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. They're playable. The ownership will level off so that they'll be around a 0 on the leverage, maybe slightly negative, slightly positive leverage. They won't look like outstanding plays, but they'll be, who they are. The around 1 fantasy point per minute plays that they typically are between Keldon, Devin Vassell, those type guys. Sohan could be interesting again. 5,900 multi-forward eligible, put up 40 FanDuel points in 30 minutes the last time out. There's definitely, some argument to be made there across both sites. He's fine. 4,800 on the DK slate, power forward only, around 15% optimal on that site, around 12% on the FanDuel slate. So you take them if you get them, but not something I'm really going out of my way for on this one. All
right. 1 game, 1 minute. Let's round it all out. Houston, Dallas, 225.5 total here. And coming up next also on the NFL. Well, same channel. You guys don't have to go anywhere. NFL strategy show. That's Dave Loughran, my guy Lofty, going with Matt Savoca, my dude, half of the law firm. Check that out right after us here. But Houston, pretty straightforward for me. Alperen Sengun, Jalen Green, nothing else.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I would take the shares of those guys. Kenny Martin on the FanDuel slate, maybe at 45, multi-forward eligible, 11-ish% optimal, just dead on the leverage score. You're not gaining all that much on the field by playing him, but he's fine as a moving part. That's really how I see most of these guys, unless something changes to give somebody unique opportunities. So these guys just are who they are.
And Luka, he's good at basketball.
He is who he is as well.
Oh my God. If you can get to Luka, you want to pay up for Luka. Shocker.
105.2 FanDuel points in 47.1 minutes against the Knicks the other day. Yeah, that'll do. It was the first time ever somebody went 60, whatever in their triple double.
2010. Unreal.
Yep. That was pretty special. And then the way to the got the free throw rebound, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that was fun. So yeah, we've got Luka on the board. Dinwiddie's on the board as a reasonable piece, as is Timmy Hardaway Jr. on the FanDuel slate. Neither of those guys particularly relevant over on DK. We're talking about a drop from 17 and 14% optimal to 6 and 6.2. So no real appeal for those two guys on DK, but on FanDuel they'll be interesting. Christian Wood, usable part on both pieces, around 12% optimal on both sites. Luka's the real story here.
All righty, guys. Terry, this was fantastic. We got a little off the rails
stuff, buddy.
But what would you expect from two lovely guys like us? Thank you to Jordan Klein. Great job. Any final words for the people as we get out of here, Terry?
Good luck out there tonight. Come back for the later shows. They'll have all the news.
I will be there. I will be in Arizona when I do it, but looking forward to it. Thank you to Jordan. Thank you to Terry. Fantastic stuff. Don't go anywhere. NFL matchup show starts right now. Peace. See you later today.